Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another entry of All for Success. Remember, the All for Success X means we're going to throw in a bunch of other conversations along with talking about many things happening this week with the family Sussex. So, Um, as you see, it's time to make your coffee, get yourself settled down so that you can either sit and drink your coffee while we do another short chat. Or, of course, if you're going to be doing other things like moving around and walking and you're listening to me via headsets, then this is a great time to get a walk in because when I chat, if you were walking, you probably get about 2 miles done. So, ladies and gentlemen, what is new over the week? Well, it has been a lot of up and down, in and out, moving around, fascinating media, panic mode operations dealing with all things Meghan Markle. Now, let's see, where did we leave off? The last thing we had heard, of course, is that Harry will be going to the coronation. Now, this is next week, folks. We only have one more weekend. Saturday will be that big, wonderful ceremony for King Charles. And it seems like there's a little bit of a media stir wondering, are people going to attend? How are people going to come out and show their support? Generally, they would have had a lot of street parties. Usually, they have a lot of people out dressed in the colors of the country's flag. There will be hopefully flyovers of Air Force jets. So usually, there's a lot of activity on and around. The fact too that people will have a day off will also be a positive thing. So folks are looking forward to it. And I'm sure in London and around, they will be thankful that they have that time off to participate. So when last we heard, we found out that, of course, Harry is going. Everyone is aware now that Meghan is not going. Now, here's where things get a little touchy. And I'm sure those of you who listen in on other channels, now we're going to get a moment to take a slow down and let's take some of this in. And then I'm going to look at some things that caught my attention. It would appear that also, right after these discussions have been going on, now there is this revelation of correspondence that occurred between Meghan Markle and the former Prince Charles, I mean, former king, but Prince Charles. And this correspondence looks like it indicated that she was aware that there had been some kind of a comment made concerning the birth of the baby and his ethnicity or his characteristics or so forth. Now, it is true, depending on what was said, and I have to be very careful here because I don't want to make myself sound like a person who has absolutely no concept of people just being themselves or being chatty. But it appears that there might have been a comment to the effect of, oh my goodness, will the baby have a curly red afro? Or something to that effect. And then maybe another statement regarding the complexion that the child might have. I guess, lighter skin versus darker skin or something like that. And of course, we don't know the context and we don't know who said what and we don't know what the conversation was that was in and around it. We don't know if people were at a party. We don't know if people were having a medical conversation. The whole run could be anything. But anyway, what we did find out is that there was a level of correspondence between Prince Charles and Meghan Markle. Now, all of the other channels have definitely sorted through it, what that letter was and how it got out, what newspaper printed it. and which also in and of itself is another interesting factoid. Which paper actually produced the fact that they know this letter existed? Because the thing is, this correspondence actually occurred 2 years ago. This correspondence was between the two a couple of years ago, and it's actually referencing the situation that occurred 4 years ago. So you've got a lot of people out and about in the what we call Sussex streets that are trying to figure out what would be the purpose of this presentation showing up now. They're wondering, like, what was the point of this? Now, immediately on the tail of this, at the same time, for example, we have been made aware, which is wonderful, that and I don't know if this picture coming up is going to be nice and clear, or if you can maybe take a look or see how it looks. But you know what this photo is going to refer to. This photo is of Meghan as she is introducing her photographer, who is going to come out on stage, and he's going to do a TED Talk presentation. And so she was part of the introduction for him to come forward. And if you notice, this photo of her appears not long after this 2-year-old letter appears. And everyone is making remarks on how she has had like a lot of, I guess you would call it a makeover, so to speak. Her hair is a little bit different. She's wearing it very straight and very sleek, and she's got herself kind of oiled up and looking very refreshed. Well, of course, this photo drove the UK media into an absolute frenzy. They practically lost their minds. They were unable to cope with the fact that she looks good. They couldn't handle that. So because she looks great, the television talk show hosts and all of the people paid to say as much negative as they can about Meghan, all of those folks had to say things like, well, her hair looks like something Kate Middleton had worn before. Oh, okay. Or she's possibly had plastic surgery, ha 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 ha, as if in California that would even be a comment, right? Then they wanted to, of course, throw out the possibility that, she and her husband, they're probably not getting along either. This is also a requirement. We must believe that Harry is about to leave Meghan and return to England, and get rid of his wife and leave his children. So we must believe that. So this is what made the rounds in the British media throughout. They were fiercely jealous. So we are aware that they are simply losing their minds. They cannot handle anything positive coming from Meghan Markle. Okay, so what it appears that they also did, which would make them an absolute target. I'm going to have to get out of my chair, people, because this chair is making a lot of noise. So I just need to stand up here a little bit better. But the other thing that seemed to make them go nuts is not long after this photo of her appeared, then it was also mentioned that she has become a partner, or she has hired an agency to work with. And this agency is managed by Ari Emanuel. Now, for those who are not in the know, this gentleman and his agency is like one is of course, in Hollywood terms or in the West Coast terms, one of the most influential, powerful agencies that there are, and to be affiliated with if you are an actor or if you are a personality or if you need publicist support. Generally, people who have this particular agency, they are very well backed, very well promoted, and they are offered the opportunities that are somewhat surprising. So I think some of the other names that were considered in that agency are like, I believe The Rock actually worked with this agency at one point. The man who is the CEO of this agency, and it's called, I believe, if I get this right, let me make sure. WME is the agency, and the the actor, The Rock, I believe, was associated with him, and some of the other top actors in the business, because he is known for being able to make the connections, get the contacts, provide the backing and the structure that is needed in order to support and promote some of the largest actors in the business. And so it is a marvelous thing also for her to have announced. So let's look at what we've got so far. She shows up in this beautiful photo, which lets everyone know that she is absolutely gorgeous. And the UK media went bizarre. They went bananas on this. And then we had the subsequent announcement of her business interests continuing to increase by being associated with this mega agency. And that too is going to drive them insane because, again, this agency is also one that's very, I don't want to say, they're very savvy, I guess is the best way to put it. And so these are giants in the business. Now, of course, from our perspective, you're looking at a situation where, everyone is supposed to be afraid of the UK tabloids and the UK media, which is why Harry had his distinct distaste for the ability of the UK tabloids and media to hold so much sway in the lives of the royals. But what they appear to be doing, and I don't know how they're doing this, but what they appear to be doing is amassing an opposition to that power. And as we all can see, I mean, as we've been watching, and this is in the regular world, we've been watching a situation where tabloid behavior, news entertainment slash non-news but more entertainment, with sprinkles of extreme lies and various interpretations and creating drama, pretending to be the news sources, which is what tabloids are. Magazines that imply they're telling you a story of truth, but there's very little truth in it. This type of, I guess, media is on the ropes right now. And if you notice, throughout, at least in America, throughout the United States, people are talking continuously about what is considered the established media. Now, in general here, it's been an argument between whether a media source was more of a liberal source of information versus a more conservative source of information. That's generally the conversation here in the United States. Overseas, I think, or perhaps in Britain, I'm not certain. I'm sure that your media sources lean a little bit more conservative, at least from our point of view, and more of a news source that would be pro British institution and British, what I would call establishment. The interesting thing is that the media sources, instead of remaining the very straightforward, straight laced, truth telling organizations, it would appear now, and this is where we're going to get into the next layer of my discussion here, is it would appear that these sources have then stepped into this place of, instead of just telling you what's going on, we're now going to give our interpretation or our slant, or in fact, we're going to lead you on to what we want you to believe, and how we want you to believe it. For example, it would appear that the UK personalities want everyone to absolutely hate Meghan Markle. Now, hate to the point of saying things that you think to yourself, why would anybody say this? Like saying things that make people want to destroy them, saying things to the level of making people want to hurt them, or saying things to the description of harming her children. And yet you have a level of personalities in the UK that follow that and say, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Let's all join in and pile on. And so from where I sit, I don't understand it. It's a remarkable thing that I'm seeing. So with that, it's just amazing. But anyway, so it would appear that she's joining forces maybe with another mega structure. So you have her relationship with Tyler Perry, which is huge. And now you have her next relationship with this mega entity, WME. So we're going to see where that might lead them and how much influence this may offer them as well. It sounds like it's going to be phenomenal. So we're looking forward to it. So what I want to mention also is I want all of you who are listening in to participate with me in this wonderful thought process. Okay, so follow me on this, and I need you to stick with me here. Did anyone who had an opportunity to watch the docuseries with Meg and Harry, do any of you remember, and I'm hoping I'm not making a mistake with this, but do any of you remember the two of them implying that the guest list for their wedding somehow had to be either approved or reviewed by Prince William? And I believe they would say that's Kensington Palace staff. Do you all, I don't know if you all remember them saying that. It's one of those things that, okay, they just mentioned that. They submitted their list of guests, and then it was determined that some of the guests shouldn't be coming. And this discussion was happening in regards to the invitation going to her niece. The niece, which is actually the daughter of our fabulous Samantha Markham, or as many people call her, the scam artist Samantha Markle. All right. I don't know if you remember that particular conversation, but I wanted to highlight that and point that out for this particular reason. Now, with that line in the actual docuseries, I wanted you all to also note, have you noted that many members of the UK media, UK tabloids, have made a remark about the people who attended the wedding that supported Meghan Markle for the fact, in other words, they've commented on the fact that none of her family attended. No one from her family came. And The reason I point that out is I distinctly remember in that docuseries her statement of there was so much back and forth with the guest list that she threw her hands up and said, well, forget about it. Just forget it. Anyone who wants to come, you make the list. Just forget it. And I got to thinking about that. Now, as we're watching what's happening with the relationship, of course, between Harry and his brother, is it possible, and this is just a question, is it possible that Kensington Palace did not extend an invitation to any of her family members, even if she had invited them? I'm just wondering if that's a possibility. Because what we've been led to believe is that Meghan herself determined that none of her family members should come, when we have been told in the docuseries that she's definitely wanted her niece to be there. I don't know about the family of her mom. That would be a different conversation. But I just find that interesting. That is a very interesting little factoid that seems to be somewhat disregarded. But for me, it's like having a rock in my shoe. It's one of those things that I wonder why that's not investigated and talked about more. I would really want to know exactly how it came to pass, which persons attended her wedding and which persons did not. Just think about that for a moment. Because if what my hunch is correct, that would indicate that the rest of her family showing support of any kind has been deliberately tampered with. Sort of like the relationship between her and Tom Markle. Deliberately kind of altered and intervened with. So, for that reason, I want everyone to keep their eyes open, keep their eyes peeled, and let me know if you see any articles to that effect. Because I am standing by and wanting to know if there's anything to that. It would be exciting to find out if, in fact, they had a part in tearing that apart. So, lastly, we still want to support all things that the family is trying to accomplish. We're looking forward to seeing what she has coming up in her future endeavors. I know that I'm for it. I'm excited to see it. And I want to remind all of you, because I'm trying to get in shape a little bit more myself. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that maybe in some short videos when I get those done. But I'm trying to get myself, work on my muscle strength and work on my bone strength. And I think that's something that all of us need to do, especially as we get older and older and keep ourselves as strong as possible so we don't hurt ourselves. And I noticed that Ms. Doria is one that's also in keeping herself fit and interested in fitness. So we're going to follow her lead. So I want everyone to keep up your steps, keep up your walking, and participate in all the things you can to keep yourselves active. We're going to talk a whole lot more about that as we continue to improve. So with that said, I'm not going to be on this broadcast long, and I want you all to keep your prayers going out for all of those who are a part of the Sussex team and wish to support those who are in the Sussex team. I know we have a mention of a member that I see in other forums, Church Nellie, who was in the hospital, and we are definitely praying for her. So we want her to get better, get well soon. And I mention her even though I don't really know her, but I would see a lot of her comments in other forums. So let's keep up that good work. Now, remember, people, please hit the thumbs up button for me. I need all the thumbs ups and the likes that you can put together. Keep them coming because I would like for people to enjoy um, some of this chat, and I'll try to get more information and more things to dig through. But for now, the only homework assignment we have at this time is who was in control of that wedding guest list? Who was the actual final say for all things on that final guest list? That's what we want to know. Now, I have a suspicion, but I would just want to think to myself, what would have been their motivation? And I believe that we have a plot point. Now I want you to know what we're doing is we're looking at this all through the lens of also what is going on between um, the other piece of information that seemed to come out at the same time involving Harry's court case. I didn't mention that earlier, but I also wanted to say it also seemed very odd to me that Harry's court case had a revelation um, of information which also somehow entered the media space. And that piece of information that came from Harry's court is actually what he had stated in his witness statement. Now, the interesting thing about that is I don't understand how the British court system works, but to me it's fascinating that what he actually said in his declaration, how is that possibly being exposed to the media? That I thought was fascinating. I was trying to figure out who would have let that information out. I mean, would it come from the courts? Would it come from someone working in the courts? I mean, the leaks are just phenomenal. And the interesting thing about it is in his court documents, it's very clear that he indicates a condition between the UK media tabloid system and the cooperation at times of the palace or various palaces, which means the staff of King Charles or the staff of Prince William, that at some point these entities coordinated with the negative media in the UK tabloids. And he makes this assertion in these documents. And so that is also fascinating for that to all come out this week, which is a week before the coronation. It's just a fascinating thing. So everyone is wondering, like, who is putting this information out and to what end? Like, what is the what is the goal to have this information come out the week before the coronation rather than after? So we are all fascinated, and we're going to be standing by watching what is going on and how this is going to play out. So I need all of you, of course, keep your eyes open. We're going to stand by and we're going to watch these two things, and then we're going to see if they make any further progress either during the coronation or after. Now, there will be a number of things going on online during the actual coronation. For us, our time, I'm not sure what time that feature would begin online. So like next week, instead of me actually doing coffee time, I'll probably be seeing portions or pieces of the coronation at that time and commenting on just those few items because they would be 6 hours ahead of us. And then others will be making commentary and looking for any mention of Archie's birthday or any type of birthday celebrations. So we'll be also on the lookout for that. We definitely support their family and all the things that they do. So with that being said, once again, ladies and gentlemen, once again, everyone listening, please hit that thumbs up button. Show your support. I need a thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. And also, feel free to leave a comment, even if it's something as simple as good morning in the chat. I love to read your comments, and if you have any comments or ideas to throw out there, feel free to send them my way. I would be excited to read them at any time. Also, hopefully, if you have any interest whatsoever at any time of coming up on a live chat and participating in the live chat, let me know. And then we'll see if we can work that in and figure out a way to have some interaction on live chat as well. All right. So, with that, folks, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And thank you all again for coming and finish your coffee. Enjoy.